Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here on part two of the IT career pathways presentation. Tonight, we're going to be talking about careers in IT support, networking, and cybersecurity. For everybody that is joining us online, if you have any questions or comments, please post it on the chat, and my colleague Anthony will be relaying that information to me. Yeah, again, welcome. My name is Eduardo Novoa. I am the Technical Training Development Coordinator at the Ignite Hub, and we are about to start. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right, again, so this is part two of a three-part series. For those of you who joined us last week we talked about the general overview. We talked about the six big areas in IT, according to what we think. We talked a little bit about some of the potential barriers getting into the IT field. We also talked a little bit about why to choose the IT field and where is people with IT skills being utilized, which is pretty much everywhere these days. We also talk a little bit about the how AI is changing the field, and we'll be talking a little bit about that today. Today we're going to be, talking more, going in depth into these three specific areas. We're going to be talking about careers in support, networking, and cybersecurity. Next Wednesday will be part three, and we'll be talking about careers in data, cloud, and web/app development. Okay. So last week we also talked a little bit about industry certifications and certifications versus degrees and how that helps you get or progress into a career in IT. And we're going to be talking about specific certifications for these three areas today. So next slide, please. So again, our objective for today is we're going to explore the careers in these three different paths. We're going to discuss the skills, the training and certification, and salaries and job outlook for these careers. Especially when we talk about the skills, for those of you who joined us last week, we talk about the importance of both soft skills and hard skills or technical skills. So we're going to be breaking it down by each one of these areas. And we're going to talk about some other helpful resources. Next slide, please. Thank you. So again, for those who joined us last week, you saw that. Otherwise, a little bit about myself. I have over 20 years of experience in the IT industry, and I've done a little bit of everything. I actually started building computers when that was something that it was still economically sound to do. These days is not much. I've done repair, I've done support, I've done system administration, I've done also cybersecurity, and now I have switched a little bit more into the instructional side. So I have a Bachelor of Science in Technical Management with a concentration in Business Information Systems and a master's degree in cybersecurity. I currently hold the CISSP certification. Those of you who don't know what that is, actually, we're going to be talking about that particular certification today, later on. My current role, I am the Technical Training and Development Coordinator at the Ignite Hub here. And a little fun fact about me that I love to read everything, fiction, nonfiction, historical, fantasy, and I'm a Trekkie. Basically, I'm a big Star Trek fan. So that's me. That's about me. Next slide. So before we start going into the meat and potatoes of this presentation, I would like to really open the floor a little bit. If you want to share, great. If not, I just want you to think about what is that you're trying to get out of this workshop. Okay, because we are going to be doing a little bit of exploration here. Okay, so it's general information about these specific paths. There's ways if you want to find more about them. You may be already in IT and be just a little curious about what other areas are available. It's not too clear to you, or you may be just starting a career in IT or even thinking about switching to a career in IT. And you have heard about these things, especially cybersecurity today. We're going to be talking about cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is one of those really hot fields right now in IT. The other two being data and the other one being cloud, and now AI. So those are the four things right now that are really, really driving the growth in IT. But as you're going to see, the other two areas that we're going to be exploring are quite important, and there's actually some very good, interesting career options in the support and in the networking path. So let's just start with the IT support uh, career paths. Next slide, please. So first of all, and again, for the people who joined us last week, this could be a little bit of a repetition, but we're going to talk about some of the common functions that people in this area do. And then again, this is really generalized. There's very specific functions that some people do, and there's a lot more than these. But generally, support is the people that you are more familiar with. If you have ever called a help desk, because you needed your password reset or you needed some help with something, you have talked to a support person. Also, if somebody came to your office to either install a new printer or maybe to just install a new system, install a new app, that is you have talked to a network person. Also, there's other people that you might have never seen but are considered support personnel within IT. So with that, you can see that some of the common functions here. Listen to customer descriptions of issues. That is very important, okay? And as we go into the skills, you're gonna see how that is actually a soft skill. It's not really a technical skill. It becomes technical when you start translating what people is telling you into a technical solution or or you have to write a ticket or something like that. So you have to listen and you have to ask the correct questions. Again, those are skills that are mostly soft skills. Um, Diagnose computer problems. And that's part of the next one, which is troubleshooting. Being able to troubleshoot and solve issues. That is across the board. You're going to see that particular function in every single career path that we're going to talk about, because that's what information technology is all about. It's all about finding solutions to problems, and that's what it is. So diagnosing computer problems, I will say, is kind of a subset of that big troubleshooting skill set, which, by the way, is super important, and you get better at it the more you do it. Honestly, I've been doing this for a while, and I still find things that I didn't know every day. So set up, repair computer workstations, and install, configure hardware and software. Again, very general, but this is most of the common functions that you're going to see here. Next slide, please. So we're going to start talking about job titles, all right? And again, for those of you who joined us last week, we said that the help desk specialist or technician is considered the entry-level job in IT. Many, many people have started doing that. Their careers in IT, and then they have either grown within the same field or they have gone into other fields. Now, it's not necessary to start there. I didn't start there, honestly. That's not where I started. Like I said, I kind of jump into the tier two, and we're going to talk about that, the tiers in when it comes to support. But a lot of people have started there, and that's considered, again, the entry level job. One of the things that I talked about last week is that even though this is considered an entry level job in IT, it requires a specific set of skills that in reality they're nothing about them is really simple about it. When I was talking about listening to customer issues, is again, is having that capacity of listen what the client, the customer is telling you, and being able to, in your mind, start already thinking about what the problem could be and what the possible solutions can be. So that sounds really easy on the surface, but in reality it's not. But again, you get better as you go along. I I always use the example of the triage nurse for this, because that's exactly the same skill that you need to have here. And with that, let me explain that again for the people who attended last week. You already heard this, but let's say that you are an ER nurse and you get two patients, both at the same time, and both of them are complaining about chest pains. You need to figure out which patient, because a chest pain could be a couple of things. It could be something really bad. Your patient could be having a heart attack, or it could also be heartburn. So you need to, first of all, assess the situation. you need to ask the correct questions so you can assess the gravity and you can, okay, you may be able to sit here for a few minutes until I get help, or I need to get you into an operating room right now. So that's kind of the general thing. You have to always be asking the correct questions, using your knowledge and your experience to determine where it needs to be put. But that's usually considered your help desk job. The thing about this, again, and we talked about this last week, this is also a job that can be done 100% remotely. Uh, we talked about some of the periods, if you of working in IT, and some of them you are able to work remotely. This is one position, especially that can be done 100% remotely. Um, and again, it's about calling the help desk and saying I have this problem. Most of the time, can help you right there and then. Otherwise, they need to create a ticket to the tier 2 support. Now, who's the tier 2 support? Those are the people who actually are on site in the building, in the campus, in the office. So when they get that ticket from the help desk could be in Kentucky, could be in India, could be anywhere, but they are actually physically in the space. So they are sent to figure out, they couldn't troubleshoot it over the phone, they couldn't solve it over the phone. So the tier 2 is the person that goes and does that. They're also called field technicians, and there's a ton of different job titles within that category. I spent a bunch of time, almost a decade, doing different things in tier 2 support. Uh, so tier 3, again, is when the tier 2 specialist cannot solve it because it's something that somebody, let's say, think about you are part of a big company or a big corporation. Let's just think about here, Montgomery College. We have 4 different locations, um, plus we have satellite offices. So sometimes there's people that need to be able to manage applications or some of the resources that we use here at the college for the whole college, not just for that particular campus, not for the particular location. And this is usually where your tier 3 people is. They're also known as system administrators a lot of the time. I've done that as well. This is the people that sometimes you need an application installed in your computer and you call the help desk and they say, okay, I'm going to open a ticket and that's going to be pushed to your computer. What push means is like somebody with access to that particular system is going to create a job so that could be installed in your computer or it could be activated, whatever it is. The other piece about this is like you're going to find out that this is like an inverted pyramid. So you're going to have actually like a regular pyramid mostly. So your tier 1, that's where your most people is going to be. Tier 2 is going to be less people, and tier 3 is going to be less people still, because you now service as a help desk, you basically are serving one-to-one, every person, every call. As a tier 2, sometimes you serve, it's like 200 people per technician or the ratio. With tier 3, it could be a couple of thousand per technician. And again, the money starts going up as you go in your tiers. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about this. So when we talk about, first of all, I want to explain what these numbers are going to mean. We're going to see slides through this presentation and next week's presentation, slides like this. So let me tell you a couple of things. First of all, everybody that registered, regardless if you attended or because maybe you couldn't attend this presentation, you are going to get an email with a link to the recording for this presentation and also a copy of this presentation. If you see there's actually links, like right there it says source ZipRecruiter, those are live links. So if you click on them, it will take you to the website where I got this information. You can get more information, you can change different areas of the country, etc. So these are median salaries. So let's talk about what that 69,000 number means. First of all, that's yearly, as you can see, or about an average of $33 an hour. But you can see it starts from 34,000 all the way to 111,000. First of all, when we say median, we are probably taking the lowest paid job in the category, and it could also be in any part of the country. This is in the United States, by the way, okay? This is not just the state of Maryland, this is throughout the United States. So this could be an IT support or a help desk technician in Kalamazoo, Michigan, All right, so that may be the 34,000. The same person could be doing a lot more money if you're working in an area like ours because the cost of living is higher, or maybe New York or Silicon Valley. The 111,000, again, that is the median salary of a tier three specialist, but that could actually be more, especially in this area, and especially if you are into management. You saw all those tiers. Every one of those tiers require management. Okay, so management is where the money is. And like we talked about last week, while it's not necessary to have a degree to get into IT, but a degree will definitely help you to go up, especially if you want to get into management, and where that's where the money is. So $70,000 is an average of all the different positions in different parts of the country. I'll have to say that a help desk technician around here in this area will start a little bit less, but a tier two technician in this area probably will be making about $80,000 a year, and a tier three, it could easily be making $100,000 a year. Okay, next slide, please. Let's talk about the job outlook for this particular area. Okay, so we took the one job title example, okay, which was the IT specialist, which in this case it could be pretty much a tier two technician. All right, so the projected computer support specialist job growth rate is 10%. So this is actually good. What they're saying is like from 2018 to 2028, they are expecting for the number of positions available to grow 10%. A lot of areas are actually shrinking, but this is growing. It's not growing a lot like we're going to see in other areas or other jobs, but it is growing. Okay. So, and that's the growth. So about 84,000 new jobs, and this is on top of the existing jobs. And some of that people is going to either go into other jobs or going to retire. So there's growth. And again, right now there are about 115,000 thousand jobs openings for that particular position in the whole of the United States. So there's opportunity there. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about the skill sets that you're going to need for this particular area. And again, we're going to talk about both the technical skills or hard skills, and then we're going to talk about the soft skills. All right. So let's start with the technical skills. Again, troubleshooting, and you're going to see that across the board. Okay. So to be a support specialist, a support technician, whatever it's called, the title sometimes companies get very creative. Look at the job description because that's what it is. Um, so the troubleshooting is going to be the key piece. You need to have that skill set. You need to prove it that you, and again, if you're not into IT, it's okay. We all have done troubleshooting in our lives, okay? Maybe not troubleshooting a technical problem or an IT problem, but we all have been faced with some kind of issue that we need to, all right, so what is wrong here and how am I gonna fix it? That's what troubleshooting is. So when we talk about these skill sets, don't get scared or say, oh my God, I don't have this. Yes, you do, most likely, maybe not in that particular application with IT, but this is what we refer to as a transferable skill, okay? So troubleshooting, knowledge of hardware, knowledge of operating systems, and I'm gonna stop right there. So when I say knowledge, let me put a caveat here, because again, I've been doing this for over 2 decades, and guess what? I don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. You keep on learning as you go, and that's the main thing. Don't be scared, because the whole thing about IT is that there's a lot to learn, but you don't need to know everything all at once. So that's the good news. The not so good news, if you wish, is like there's a lot to learn, but again, for people that is into learning, there's plenty to learn. So foundational knowledge of hardware and operating systems, okay? And most of us are very familiar with Windows. We have touched Windows at some point in our lives. 95% of computers in the world run the Windows operating systems, one version of Windows. Mac OS, for like those Apple computers. And now those mobile systems that are so important because people is actually, companies are giving us phones. I have a phone that the college gave me. It's an iPhone. So iOS, Android are very important. Now, Linux is something that most people do not have a knowledge of. But what is important? If you are going to be thinking about doing system administration, system engineering, cybersecurity, and networking, you're going to need to understand Linux. And there are tons of Linux distributions. And okay, this is something that I never took a class in Linux. For example, me, how did I learn about Linux? By playing, downloading all these distributions. Most of them are free. All you need to do is like download a virtual machine player, download these virtual machines, start playing with them. You won't, if you break them, doesn't matter, it's a virtual machine, but that's how you learn about Linux. Linux is something that you need to understand if you're gonna go deeper into those areas. Office software, again, that's most likely Microsoft Office suite, you know, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, that kind of stuff. Still have a knowledge of that because you need to help your clients. A lot of the times, it's not that something is broken. Your clients call you and says, how do I do this in Word? How do I create a pivot table in Excel? How do I change the theme in PowerPoint? So again, having that foundational knowledge, oh, you do it like this, you go here, 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 okay? So there are all other Office softwares now or Office suites that a lot of people is using, especially a lot of companies have turned into Google Docs, but still the Microsoft products, either the standalone Office or the Office 365 is still the most used productivity software. Fundamentals of networks and security. Okay, I say fundamentals again because there's a lot to know about networks and how to secure networks and how to secure operating systems, how to secure hardware, applications, etc. But you need to have a foundational knowledge. If you are going to be troubleshooting a problem, you need to know where the problem is. Is the problem on the cable, on the power cable, is on the network cable, is on the hardware in the computer, is in an application, or is it in the network? Where is the problem? So in order for you to really find out where the problem is, you need to know at a very high level how networks work and some concepts of security. And when I say other software, that's just like filling the dots because there's tons of other software, especially application software that needs to be. And then again, it's depending on the company, depending on the job, they may ask for something specific. But that's, again, don't get scared. You don't have all that knowledge. It's okay. It's okay. This is what most job postings are going to be asking in some way, shape, or form as far as technical skills. Let's go to the soft skills, which is the next slide. Again, we talked last week about how important IT is now for every business. IT or information technology is no longer something nice to have. Information technology is now a business operation, is part of the business, is a business function. So with that said, gone are the days where people in IT were, put on the basement on a corner and they didn't have to talk to anybody. And some people chose IT because, hey, I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't like to talk to people. I don't have good communication skills, but I have great technical skills. Yeah, 20 years ago, you could have get away with that. Nowadays, no. So it is super important that you develop these baselines, these soft skills, especially as you continue going up the chain. And you're gonna see, guess what? I'm gonna give you like a little sneak peek here. Look at these baseline soft skills. They're gonna be the same for pretty much every single one of these career paths, okay? So communication, both written and verbal, organization. Again, when you work in IT, sometimes 3, 4, 5 teams come to you at the same time. You need to be able to organize yourself and see what do I need to take care of first, what is the most important thing, and how you organize your work, you organize everything. Analysis. Again, being able to face a problem or a scenario and start thinking about possible solutions, possible paths, how you can approach it, how you can tackle it. The other piece learning, and research. Okay, and that is huge. I shared this last week when I said that I've done a fair amount of schooling, but everything that I know, everything that I learned probably 60% of it from school. The other 40% is stuff that I have learned by doing it myself or by researching it myself, basically being that is something that you're going to need in this profession. School is going to teach you so much. You're going to have to be able to learn new things by yourself. And the last one is interpersonal. Again, that capacity of being able to attend meetings and being able to have other types of communication that is not necessarily just written or verbal. Just being the post and being able to represent your group, your unit appropriately. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So we talk about these jobs in this particular area, right? In the support. So again, if somebody wants to share, by all means, we'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, this is for your own reflection. But out of what was covered in this section, what stood out for you? And are you interested in a career in IT support? With that, what we mean is like, would you consider a career in IT support? Maybe you were not even thinking about this. You were not even knew that this was an area of IT, and it's a big area of IT. So, food for thought. Okay, let's go to the next slide. There's no any comments or. All right. So now we're gonna be jumping to the next area, which is the networking. Okay, and we're gonna do the same exact thing. So we're gonna start again. Next slide. We're gonna talk about the common functions again. For the people who was here last week, they already saw this slide, but again, we're going to kind of go over it a little bit. So what is that networking people do? This is the people that you probably haven't seen a lot. If you have seen a network engineer, it's because there's some kind of issue, either in the whole floor, in the whole building, or maybe you were walking by and you saw somebody, one of those, network closets, the door was open, and you see these racks of equipment with all these cables and all these lights that looks like a Christmas tree. That's maybe as far as like most people have seen a network engineer. But let me tell you something. Without these people, nothing will work. Everything that we do runs through networks. The internet is just a network. Everything is a network. So these people are the ones who make things happen. You don't see them, but without them, without the network being efficient and working, nothing happens. So let's just start with the ensure network is functional and secure. Secure. This is where, again, like I said last week, this is where these things start bleeding into each other. 20 years ago, there was no cybersecurity. There was security. The government used to call it, information assurance or information. So, but then again, not everybody needed cyber at that point. The term cyber didn't even exist. So these, so the people, the network engineers, were the ones who were securing the network at the same time. There was no separate security department. Now, it could be a mix of both. They could be the network engineers are also doing the securing, or it could be a separate IT security department. So that's where the secure part comes. Ensure secure transfer of data. Again, the data has to go to the from point A to point B uh, in a manner that is not intercepted in transit, that is not manipulated in transit, and then it goes from person to the intended recipient. It doesn't go to somebody else. So that's the secure transfer of data. Again, that's mostly nowadays a function of cybersecurity, and we're going to talk about that. Now let's talk about the optimized network performance. I talked about this last week, and I asked if anybody knew what the 5 nines are. Does anybody know what 5 nines are? So 5 nines are 99.999% of the time. That is the standard that any network should run. So that means that the network should be up and running. In a year, it can only be down for like 2 minutes. That's the standard. That's what everybody should be striving for. And that's just for the common for everybody else. The government, in some departments, they have the 7 9 standards of the 11 9 standards. So only seconds a year the network can be done. Um, so first of all, you make sure that the network is working, is up and running, And second, that is running optimally, that the information is not getting, you don't ask for a file and it takes you 20 minutes to get to it. You want access to this as soon as possible. So again, you need to optimize it. The network not only has to be running up and running, but it needs to be up and running really efficiently. So again, as you can see, it's not an easy job, but it's where everything runs. Let's talk about the other two pieces here, because that's the backup network data. That's super important because, like I mentioned last week, I said your data is as good as your last backup. Data is going to be lost. That's it's not if, it's like when and how it's going to get lost. Okay, it could be a natural disaster. It could be somebody deleted it by mistake or maliciously. Uh, Somebody attacked that data. Somebody exfiltrated that data. Okay, from you, so you receive an attack. So your data is as good as the last backup that you have that data. Okay, if that backup was like a year ago, well, not good. So your critical data needs to be backed up every day, and so again, that's the kind of situation. So these people also kind of take care of that. And then the last one is support the internal servers and network devices. Again, within a network, when you're trying to reach a server, that server, if it's inside your topology inside your company, these are the people that also manage that server, that make sure that it's working, that it's being patched and all that. So those are the system engineers. But now I kind of put them together with the network engineering group. So with that, let's go to some of the roles. And now it's going to make more sense, okay? Because I've been talking about these roles already. The most, or let's just say the flagship, if for lack of a better term, job title in this whole area is going to be your network engineer. Okay, your network engineer is the person again that configures, deploys, patches all those devices. Make sure that your network is running. They are also monitoring the network traffic, seeing where is it getting bad. Getting so that's the main job. But there are other people. For example, the network administrator, that is the person that again is the job of a network administrator is making sure that there's no alarms, that everything is running as it's supposed to be going, and you are the keeper of the keys as far as like giving access to other engineers, etc. Network support technician, that's probably an entry-level job in this category. And this is the people that, when there's a problem with the internet, with something, sometimes they need to be checking the cables, the patch panels, running cables, and sometimes doing basic testing on these router switches, on these network devices. There's a problem, then the network engineer needs to take care of that. System administrator, again, this is where, and the system engineer, those positions have to do more with the last two things that we talked about, the data backups and the servers and all that. But all these people work together. And again, most of these people you probably have never or have very little contact with, but without them, this is the people that make everything happen. Okay, they're not as present as the support people. The support people, I've always say, they are like the boots in the ground. These are the client-facing people. But at some point, if you decide to, take a job in this area, you will also need to talk to the clients. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so network engineer, median salary. Again, as you can see, it starts at 31,000. That's probably the person that I told you about, that maybe is just starting. It's making sure testing the patching, the cable, so making sure that the cable from the wall jack to the patch panel is working properly. Maybe I need to. So that's a technician. And again, this could be in an area of the country that is not around here, because nobody around here makes that kind of money. As you can see, $158,000, that's on the higher end. And that's, again, is going to be your probably your network architects. It's going to be more in the management category. But as you can see, the median salary for a network engineer is about $109,000. That seems to be, that to me, it rhymes with what a network engineer will make about in this area. Next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit about the job outlook, okay? Again, network engineer is gonna grow 5%, okay? Not a whole lot, but that's, again, 5% on top of the existing jobs that there are. So it's still growing. meaning that people are still going to need network engineers, and other people is going to move on to other roles or going to retire, et cetera, et cetera. So there's always opportunity for network engineers. So you can see about 20,000 jobs will open in the next 10 years, and about 72,000 jobs are active right now. That fluctuates, as you can imagine, but in the US, there's tons of opportunities there as well. So let's talk a little bit about the hard skills here, all right? And as you can see, the list start growing a little bit, getting more specific. Um, the amount of knowledge. So let me start by saying that you saw that the skill set required for the support, now it starts getting a little bit more narrow, okay? For support, it tends to be a little bit more general, wider. Here we start going narrower and narrower and narrower. And as we go into specific paths, it gets even more narrow. All right, but as you can see, everything starts with troubleshooting. Again, doesn't matter you're troubleshooting a computer or a network, the skill set and the mental process is the same. You see, Windows and Linux operating systems. This is what I told you about the Linux operating systems. Most of the network devices and a lot of the servers run on Linux, specific Linux distributions. Some are vendor specifics, but they are all based on the Linux kernel. We can talk about that. I mean, does anybody is anybody familiar with Linux, by the way? And you know what is called Linux? You are familiar with Linux? You too? So Linux is basically a open source kernel or the nucleus of these all operating systems that it was created by a gentleman by the name of Linus Torvald, and that's why the name Linux. So the different distributions is different shells. What you see, what you interact with, that could be different, but the kernel is exactly the same. So once you know one distro of Linux, the difference is going to be like the shell and how they operate, but they all more or less operate the same. The other part about Linux is that it's heavy on command line. So that is the other thing. A lot of the things, and that's what makes it very powerful, is that you need to open the terminal, and a lot of stuff that you'll do it to command line. So you know, all the and Linux is actually based on Unix, uh, as is Mac OS. But just so you know, so this is why it's important. It's powerful. Networking hardware and appliances. Again, even if it's you need to understand what different pieces of networking hardware do. You need to understand what a switch versus a router versus a firewall, what each one of these do, and at what different layers they operate. So that's you need to understand at least. If you don't have very deep, but you need to understand what is the difference between these things, okay? What is the difference between a hub and a switch, or a switch and a router? And they start throwing you stuff like layer 3 switches, so switches that can act like routers. But anyway, so you need to understand that a little bit. Networking, operating, and monitoring systems. Again, and that has a little bit to do with Linux, because a lot of these network operating systems are based on Linux, and this is how these devices talk to each other. Okay, those network operating systems, and the monitoring systems are, how you look at your whole network. In those world-like centers. So what you're looking in those big screens and you see all those different things is probably SolarWinds or something like that. SolarWinds is an example of a monitoring system that you can see what's happening in your network, and then you can send specific commands to some devices. Vendor-specific software, and I just mentioned one, for example, SolarWinds is one. Fundamentals of security. Again, you don't need to be an expert in cybersecurity, but you are working in a network, and you need to understand how can the network be compromised, attacked, and how can it be secured. Okay, you can see it starts getting a little bit more. Let's go to and look at that. Exact same soft skills that we saw in the last one. So you're gonna see that across the board. All right. All right. So again, out of what was covered in this section, what stood out for you? Maybe the eye-popping thing was like, oh my gosh, network engineers make over $100,000. Yes. But let's talk about how to be a network engineer, okay? And what it will take. Are you interested in a career in computer networks? A lot of people is a little scared of networks and networking because I'm going to be honest with you, this is probably one of the most technical parts within information technology. Uh, this is where it starts getting a little complicated. But again, this your mileage may vary, but to me, my personal experience is like nothing that I have learned is being like super completely difficult. It's just been a lot to learn, and then you need to start understanding them. You need to start with. There's two different ways that you can learn about these things. You can start very wide and start narrowing it down, or you can start at a very specific concept and start trying to make it how that fits in the bigger scheme of things. Okay, so that's a couple of different ways. I have tried both um, approaches. Some of them work better for some things than others. I guess everybody has to experiment a little bit about that. Okay, next slide. All right, why don't we take like a little break, like possibly like a 5-minute break, and then we're gonna stop the recording momentarily. And then when we come back, we are going to go into the cybersecurity, and then we are going to talk about the certifications, which I think it's going to be. And cyber, it's a little. We have a little bit more to talk about. All right. So let's take a little break. Thank you. And if anybody. All right. So we're back. Thanks everyone. And so we are going to go now into the cybersecurity career paths. And we're going to start again with the common function. So let's talk a little bit about that again, because cyber is again one of those fields that are. Sorry about this. I think I'm gonna have to switch the microphone. Okay. I can do it. All right. Sorry about that. Had to switch the microphone. So we talked about this last week, but cyber again is one of those fields that is growing a lot. And a lot of people is being attracted to cyber for a couple of different reasons. Uh, Prior to me coming to to the hub, I was actually working with the cybersecurity department here at the college with the cybersecurity program. And uh, I have one of our students here, former students. Unfortunately, what I saw is that a lot of people is getting into this field, not really knowing what they're getting into. Um, and while I will really, the, we really need more people in cyber. As you're gonna see, there's a ton of jobs available in cyber, and you keep on hearing that there's like these 3 million jobs available in cyber, and we need to fill them. And a lot of people have gone into cyber, and then when they're trying to get into the field, they find that it's quite difficult to start in the field. So, and I'm gonna tell you a couple of reasons why. Yes, it is. It is true. It is a little difficult to get into the field because, unfortunately, for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it's there are entry-level jobs in cyber, but those are not entry-level jobs in IT. The reason being is like if you think about the IT support or like your help desk support being the entry-level job in IT, that will be here. And if you think about the entry-level job in cyber, which will be a NOC or a network operations center specialist, is up here. They're both entry-level, but at completely different levels. Why is that? Because if you are going to be in cyber, you're going to be defending, you're going to be protecting. And how can you be a good defender or a good protector if you don't know what you're protecting? So in order to even start in cyber, even if you want to start an education in cyber, and this is what I saw in the program, unfortunately, is that a lot of people come to the program thinking that they're going to be taught everything. And unfortunately, that is not the case. And that should actually, everybody should
say, in order to get here, you already have to have this foundational knowledge. And that's why I insist so much in having that foundational knowledge in hardware, operating systems, networks. Because again, that's what cyber is about. Is supporting and securing those things. It's supporting your endpoints, your computers, your laptops, your mobile devices, and then how to secure the network, right? And then how to secure the applications in those devices and those operating systems, what is called hardening. So you need to understand those things first before you learn how to secure them. Does that make sense? The other piece why getting into cyber it's a little difficult is that most companies want people that is ready to come to work. They're really looking for unicorns. They're looking for people with 5, 3, 10 years of experience. How can you get that? I mean, it's impossible. Nobody wants to give me a chance, but they're asking for 3 years of experience. How can you prove that you have some experience? And we can talk a little bit about that. I mean, it's not always easy, but there are ways that you can. What I always recommend is like try to get your education, your preparation, and the experience at the same time. So by the time that you finish both, you will have a couple of a couple some of each under your belt. Okay, because what I've seen is a lot of people come with a degree, with a certification, and they try to get a job, and they're turned out. And the reason being is because, like we talked about last week, a degree or a certification prove one thing, that you have the knowledge. But the experience proves that you have applied that knowledge somehow. That is why they want both. And it's hard to get both, right? The third part about getting into cyber, it could be because a lot of these jobs require, if it's especially in this area, working for the government either directly or as a contractor, require somebody to do some kind of security clearance in you. And those could be lengthy, and not everybody wants to, because you cannot apply for a security clearance. Somebody has to apply for a security clearance on your behalf, and they're taking a risk because they could be really costly. So people really look at people before even thinking about hiring them or trying to get a security clearance for them. So those are some of the areas. Again, I don't want to discourage anybody because it's great. Now, what are these are the cons of getting into cyber. What are some of the pros of getting into cyber? Why people is trying to get into cyber so much? First of all, you have heard about very good paying jobs, and we're going to see that. Yes, that is correct. That is true. Second, the availability of jobs. Again, true, but with the caveat of it's kind of hard to get those jobs. Third one, especially for a lot of people, this is really they want to be protectors, they want to serve, they want to do something meaningful and important. So that could be a really good motivation for a lot of people. So yeah, it could be exciting. So with that said, let's talk about some of the common functions that cybersecurity does. So again, conduct vulnerability assessments. And what that means is like pretty much in a nutshell is trying to find where your weak links are. Every company, every system has some kind of weak link that is given, but it's trying to find where those are and how can you reinforce them or how can you get rid of those weak links if necessary. Okay? Detect cyber threats. And this is what, when people think about cybersecurity, this is where it comes to mind. Is the technician or, working on those network operating centers, and looking at those screens and looking at those maps and all that. Yeah, that's what it is, detecting cyber threats. Basically, what is happening? How is my network? What are they trying to do? Looking at your network traffic, is it normal? Are you seeing something that is not normal? Can it be an attack? So that's trying to detect those cyber threats, okay? Somebody attacking me, and if so, how can I counteract it, okay? So evaluate those security controls. Again, a security control could be a lot of different things. Security control is just something that you put in place that could be physical, that could be just a policy, or it could be a technical control to prevent or a cyber attack, a cyber threat, okay? So if we think about that, security controls could be a lock on the door. That's physical. That's a physical control. It could be a way of securing your data physically. So a technical control could be using a specific piece of software or tool. And you have policies. You cannot do this. You cannot use USBs in these computers or something like that. Okay. So those are evaluating which one makes sense for our company, for our systems, for our people. Okay. For the data that I'm trying to protect. Monitor that network traffic, which is what we were talking about. And that could be done by network engineers, or it could be done in a NOC. Here at Montgomery College, we do have a security group. I was part of it. Um, but we don't have a knock. We don't have that proverbial place that we have all those screens and stuff. We don't have it because there are tools that you don't need that. That is usually for big companies have that, or for places that does that kind of work for other companies. So the next one is investigate. Investigate security breaches, like we mentioned last week. One of the things that anybody in cybersecurity will tell you is like, is not when, no, it's not if you're going to get attacked, it's when and how bad the attack is going to be. So when those attack happens, you need to investigate. I mean, you need to investigate really fast. You need to see, okay, how did this happen? What was the amount of damage? How can I stop the bleeding? And after that, how can I come back to business as usual? Last but not least, advise the staff on safe practices. Again, has to do mostly with education, with educating your users. Uh, Still, the greatest majority of cyber attacks on companies happen because people is bamboozled into clicking a link, opening an email, providing their credentials one way or another. This is called social engineering. So by trying to educate your users on how to be safer, on how to recognize these threats, it helps a lot. So that's some of the functions that cybersecurity people do. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about some of the job titles, because cyber is a big, big field. There's a ton of different things that you can do in cyber. Again, when you think about that network or stock security operating center analyst, which is considered the entry-level job, that's what most people think when they're thinking about cyber, okay? So it's the person looking at those screens, looking at what's happening, that kind of stuff, okay? But there's a ton of other functions within cybersecurity. So information security analyst, again, that's what they do. Incident and intrusion analyst, again, those are the analysts that are trying to see what happened here, how did this intrusion happen, and how can we prevent it from happening in the future. The next one is actually a fun one, and that's the penetration tester, aka pen tester. These is the people that are actually also called white hat hackers, because they are hackers. But instead of trying to get your information and sell it or do something malicious, what they do is basically they are hired by a company or somebody says, look, try to hack me, okay? And they use, specific tools, and they are basically hackers. They try to hack you, but then they come with the results to you and say, look, these are the vulnerabilities that I found. And, this is how can you probably take care of them. So that's a fun job, but again, there's some legal considerations and ethical considerations on that one, okay? Malware analyst. Again, that's the people that actually dissect, reverse engineer the malware. And they try to, couple of things. First of all, by doing that, they're trying to see what this malware exactly does. How is this attack happening? What is it attacking? Is it attacking, what part of the OS? What is happening? Is this like a overflow, whatever type of attack is? So determine what type of attack is. Second, how to counteract it. And third, sometimes to basically say who did this. Like look at the fingerprints and try to what is called attribution, or try to attribute the attack to possible attackers, groups, countries, or whatever. All right, so cryptologists are the people who are developing the encryption method, either developing encryption methods or trying to break them. Like I said last week, the NSA is always hiring these kind of people. You have to be really good at math for these particular ones, because at the end of the day, all encryption is nothing but mathematical operations. That's what it is. It's high math. It's a little bit more than I am comfortable with, but super interesting. These are the people that create the algorithms, the encryption methods, or try to break them. Okay. So data forensics are analyst or examiner. Again, just like there's forensic analysts for crime scenes that come and collect, evidence of a crime. There's also forensic analysts that collect digital evidence because more and more crimes are now committed digital devices are being used. So they need to be gathered, they need to be put in a chain of custody, and they need to be handled in a very specific way so they can be used as proof in a court of law. Otherwise, they will be thrown out. So again, that's the people that do that. Compliance analyst. This is actually what I was doing when I was working here at the college at the cybersecurity group, security group. A lot of people don't think that compliance had to do with cybersecurity, but it does. For example, here what I did at the college was I was managing a program that is called PCI DSS. If you don't know what that is, it stands for Payment Card Industry PCI DSS, Data Security Standards. Okay, I know it's a mouthful. Basically what it is, it's anybody that uses or any company that accepts credit card transactions need to comply a certain way how the systems, the networks that are using these cards are secure for the security of the clients, okay? If we are not compliant, Visa and MasterCard may say, we don't want to do business with you anymore. You cannot run our transactions through our networks anymore because you are not secure. That's in a nutshell. But so that again, and who better than the security department to take care of that? Also, if you work, let's say, in the health industry, and you have to secure your patient records, it's IT who needs to secure these records because now they're not kept in files and folders anymore in paper. Everything is kept electronically. So how are you protecting those records, are keeping them secure, and there's also retention policies, et cetera, et cetera. So compliance is a big part of cyber, believe it or not. The last two that I put for a particular reason. Those two jobs did not exist 15, 20 years ago. Definitely, not even 10 years ago, some of them. What I'm trying to say is like cyber has grown so much that now positions have been created. And these are managerial high positions, especially like the CISO. That's a C-level officer in any company that is in charge of the security of the company. These people usually report directly to the CIO or the CEO. So again, these are positions that did not exist before. Another one that I did not list here, but I talked about last week is, for example, the European Union a few years back got a new standard for data security for users. So if you want to make any kind of business with the European Union, you have to be compliant with that law. And that created a specific position. This is a person that really knows how to comply with that law. So companies that are doing business with the EU need to be compliant in that sense, in the data retentions for customers, et cetera. So again, a growing field, and that's what I tried to illustrate on the last two slides. Can we go to the next slide, please? So again, now you start looking at that, and that's, again, good money. And this is the cybersecurity analyst salary. Okay, so this is not necessarily the super entry level, but it's not high. I will say this is actually a cybersecurity analyst. I will consider that the second rung in the cybersecurity hierarchy, if you wish. Okay, and again, you see 43,000. I don't know where that will be because nobody will do that work for that, especially not around here. And you can see the high end 150. That $100,000 per year, that's easy what a cybersecurity analyst will make in this area. Also, there's different levels of cybersecurity analysts. There's like level 1, 2, and 3, depending on what you do and what your functions are. But yeah, that is one of the main attractions for cyber. Let's go to the next one. So the projected growth for cybersecurity analyst is 32%. Okay, now you're seeing, wow, so that is growing. So in the next 10 years, about Another 35,000 jobs are projected to be created on top of the ones that are already existed and advertised that are not being filled. So there's a ton of jobs out there for this. Again, not as easy to get into them, but if you do, really good. And as you can see, 112,000 active information security analyst jobs opening in the US. And that's just for that particular job title. There are a ton of other job titles within security, and that's where that 3.5, 4 million open jobs in cybersecurity comes from that is being touted left and right. All right, let's go to the next slide. Again, let's look at those hard skills. Again, start with the troubleshooting. That's just essential. Um, Now you see that in the past one, I put like foundational or even just a regular. Here I put a strong network and endpoint security knowledge. Again, how can you be a good protector if you don't know what you're protector? And that's why a lot of people in cyber today came from being network engineers and from the networking world. You need to have that strong network knowledge. Why is that? A lot of the attacks still happen at the different levels at the network. You know, if you are familiar with the OSI model, the 7 layers, you need to understand what specifically protocol, what specific layer, what specific thing that they're trying to attack and how to counteract it. And for that, you need a little bit more than just passing networking knowledge. Endpoint, again, I try to explain what endpoints are. We used to say computers. You know, now you have endpoint is any device that is at the edge of your network. And it could be connected with a cable, or it could be connected via Wi-Fi. It could be connected via VPN, but it's anything. It could be a phone. It could be a tablet. It could be a laptop. It could be a computer. It could be a server. Those are all endpoints because that's where the communication originates from and ends in. Okay, so how to secure those endpoints? And those endpoints have two types of security that need to be taken into consideration. One is the physical security, again, where they're located, how they are secure, and B, how you are going to harden those operating systems, which brings us to the next point. Windows and Linux operating systems, again, we talked about why servers, and this is the other part why cybersecurity and Linux is super important. One of the most famous tools for both hackers and defenders is a Linux distribution called Kali Linux. All right, so Kali Linux is a Linux distribution that has over 100 tools for a lot of different things, from hacking passwords to Wi-Fi to network fingerprinting. So there's a ton of tools in there, but it's a Linux distribution, it's free. A lot of the tools that are used in cyber run on Linux and run on command line. That's why that is important for cybersecurity people. So security software and tools, again, that's very specific things. That's some of the things that we were talking about. So specific pieces of software is most likely more than actual physical tools, and vendor specific software. Again, that's software that is specific for, let's say a company uses this particular product for this particular function. And I'm going to give you a couple of things. For example, Proofpoint. Proofpoint they offer different products, but Proofpoint is used a lot for email filtering. So, you know, so if somebody, see the company is using Proofpoint, they may want to say, are you familiar with it? Because you're going to be working with that particular thing. So that's what I mean by vendor-specific software. Next slide. And again, we go back to the same baseline soft skills, especially here, believe it or not, because cyber is one of those areas that require a lot of contact and communication with either clients, sometimes to the boss. It's like, you know, you may be called, you are a cybersecurity analyst, you may be called in front of the CEO to explain to the CEO in plain language, not in dumb language, I said in plain language, why is that you are proposing that the company buys this tool that costs $500,000, and then you need to talk to the CEO and say, sir, ma'am, The reason that I'm recommending this tool is because this could be the possible consequences if you don't have it. So, and this is how this could help you. And again, and those are skills that you need. If you were thinking that, oh, I'm going to get into cyber because I don't get to talk to anybody, sorry, let me disabuse you of that notion. So, super important, especially in this area, believe it or not. Next slide. Again, we talked a lot about cyber, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it because the next area that we're going to talk about, we're going to start going into the certifications. Um, and that we're going to talk a little bit more. But what was covered in this section, what stood out for you? Especially because we've been talking cyber, and cyber is one of those areas that people are super interested in right now. And are you interested in a career in cyber? And again, if you are, I'm glad for you. I'm super happy that, but make sure that the only thing that I always say is like, make sure that you go into these things knowing what you're getting into. Because you can do anything that you want, honestly. And I'm gonna insert a personal experience of mine. This is one of those areas that really, when you're especially starting in it, there's a lot of like that, I don't know if I belong here type of situation. And it happened to me. Let me tell you something. What happened to me when I went to my first cybersecurity conference. Uh, Two things happened, and they were like simultaneously. The first thing was like realizing that I do belong here. Everything that they're talking about, everything that they're saying, I get it. I understand. I do belong here. The second one was like, I don't see a lot of people that look like me here. So there's always that thing, and do I belong here? You know. The other part again is because it's kind of hard to get into the career, into the field. But if you do, you're going to find a group of people that, believe it or not, and this is something that kind of, it was a surprise to me because a lot of areas in IT and different jobs that I worked throughout this past few years, it's like there are some groups that are really, really not collaborating. They don't like, especially people that has been in IT for a long time. You know, sometimes the old mentality is like, you know, the more I know, that's my job security. That's not true. That's definitely not true. So they don't like to share whatnot. But one thing that I found with cyber is that there's a real community. People like to share and to help each other, because I think that again, one of the motivations to get into this field is that a lot of people find purpose in this. And I think that when you become a defender, you become part of a community, and it's a pretty cool community. So I liked it. I liked it a lot, and I still, you know. But again, some of the good things for cyber, some of the difficult things to get into cyber. But let's go to, yeah, there's a question. Okay, no, you go ahead. You can read it. Thank you. Yeah. Uh-huh. Use the microphone they put in. Sorry,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
One of the questions we got was, do these jobs require security clearance?
Yeah, okay, so that's a good question. Some of them do. Not all of the cybersecurity jobs require clearance. The ones that definitely are going to require some kind of clearance are if you're going to, and you're going to understand this a little bit more in a minute when we talk about certifications and DoD 8570. But if you're going to work directly for the federal government or as a contractor for the federal government, you are going to require clearance. And clearances come in different flavors. It could be something as the lowest level of security clearance is called public trust. And public trust, you can think about like they really do a thorough check on you. But then if you start going into secret, top secret, compartmentalized, those are hard because they need to really go back into your history. And on those, they need to interview your neighbors, your bosses for the past 20 years. So sometimes even your exes. So those can be a little bit more, but not all jobs require security clearances. But yeah, definitely anything that's government related most likely will require a clearance, yes. And again, as far as clearances, unfortunately, you cannot apply for the clearance. Somebody has to start the clearance process on your behalf, and it's usually the company that's hiring you. Go ahead.
This would just be helpful to get out right now. We do have some people asking about the materials, how we're going to send the materials.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So again, everybody that registered or attended these, either in person, you're going to get an email in the next 3 or 4 days with a couple of things, a link to the recording for the people who came a little late or want to replay the presentation, and B, you're going to get a copy, a PDF copy of this presentation. So yes, you will get an email for that. Okay, any other questions, comments? We good? Yes, sir.
Why?
Yeah.
So is that the same case where the company for where you apply would have to work with you on that process?
That is a very good question. So there's a ton of jobs out there that says security clearance required. So they're either going to say required or preferred. Okay. So if it's preferred, it's like we will love for you to have it, and then because we don't have to go through the process, but we are willing to go through the process if you are the correct candidate. If it says require, that's a little bit more of a gray area, and most likely they say we really want somebody with clearance. Now, with that said, let me share another experience that I had. And this was pre-pandemic, but it was a job fair, and it was a job fair in Baltimore specifically for cybersecurity jobs. And when I registered, I went and checked in, that they gave me my badge, and they put a dot, a color dot on it. I think it was like a blue dot, and some people got like green dots, and some people got like red dots. But there were some people that got like something like an orange dot. And I didn't understand what this was. And the people with the orange dots, the vendors were like fighting to as soon as they saw somebody walk, it's like, come here, I need to talk to you. And then I realized that these is people that were already had clearances. So that's what it was. So again, the process it's costly, and it's not necessarily. I've heard, and again, I've never gone through a clearance process. I went through a clearance process, but it was something akin to um, public trust. It wasn't a deep clearance process. But this could be, again, costly for the company. And I've heard from people that has both done and received security clearances. Sometimes it's a little crazy. Some people that you don't think should get a clearance get cleared. And some people that sometimes like they deny your clearance for something really stupid. If couple of recommendations about clearances, if you are ever, somebody says, okay, we're going to try to do a clearance for you, do not lie. Do not lie. That is the main thing. If you have done something, nobody's perfect. Okay, nobody's perfect. Do not lie, but do not overshare. If they ask you, what have you done in the past 10 years, limit yourself to 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. You don't have to say, when I was 8, I got caught stealing cigarettes. Okay, they don't need to know that. Okay, they ask you for the past 10 years, be very honest and truthful about the past 10 years. Okay, but do not lie, because that is a sure way to get a clearance denied. I can tell you that much. Again, from what I've heard from people. So that's the thing with clearances. And that's why a lot of people that has been in the military or have worked for other contractors, sometimes the most valuable thing that they take from those jobs is that clearance. So because it's way easier for even this, because usually security clearances, sometimes they run out and they need to be renewed. But if you have had a security clearance before, they will take you, because you are most likely to get your security clearance renewed unless you have done something stupid in this time. Yeah, so if you have had a security clearance before, or you've been clear for anything in some way, shape, or form, it's more likely that you'll get cleared. But again, some of these, and there are clearances and clearances. If you're trying to apply for the Department of Energy, now that's a completely different clearance process. They even have different, they're not called secret, top secret, they're called like E something, and they have like E5. It's just a completely different process. So it depends on where you apply for, but yeah, it's a really kind of a roll of the dice. But hey, you can nothing to lose if you don't try, right? Right. Good. Oh, another question?
Yes.
Okay, what we have?
I hope this was done during this segment. Hold on. There it is. Okay. I've done help desk and networking advanced tier support with Comcast in 2006. So troubleshoot, upgrade, resolve tickets, etc. Is that similar? Of course, we troubleshoot McAfee as well on devices.
Yeah.
I'm anxious about switching careers.
Yeah, I mean, you already have that, so you have done it. You probably have not done it in the whatever new tool that it is, but troubleshooting is troubleshooting. Like what I was saying last week, and this is a transferable skill. It's the same like with management. Some people are afraid to put in their resume that they were, a shift manager for McDonald's. Why? That's management. Management is managing people and processes, and that's the same skill set. So you have management experience. Doesn't matter if you had management experience in IT. You had management. Management is management. The same thing with a lot of these skills. Yes, to your question, troubleshooting is troubleshooting. And again, doesn't even have to be troubleshooting in IT. If you have been faced in a job that you have to find solutions to problems, that is troubleshooting. So again, this is where when we talked, and we're gonna get to that point. With some of the resources, it's like when you're writing that resume, you need to really think about the skill set that you already have, because you have skills. All of you already have skills. Maybe you don't think you do because they are worded differently, but you do. And there are ways that you can write your resume that represents that you have that skill set. It's a matter of speaking. Yeah, I have done this. I have not done it in this particular scenario or area, but I do have that. So yeah. Mhm.
And then for this last question, can someone without a background in IT learn or start a career in these fields, IT support, cybersecurity, networking? Is one easier for a beginner? Thanks.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that this is the thing. Believe it or not, you all have some kind of IT skills, because in today's world, we all need to use technology. All right, we have to use technology. It may not be the knowledge that you have is like be little bits and pieces, maybe not be organized, but everybody has some kind of technology skills. Today you have to, because that is just to survive in today's world. You need to. Okay. Now, if you want to get into the field, what I recommend again is getting that foundational knowledge. Last week we talked about, and again, I have no association or with CompTIA, but there are courses that you can take at your local community college. It doesn't have to be Montgomery College, even though I'm going to show you some of the courses that we offer here. But you can take it at your community college or like any, one of these institutes that prepare people, but you need to get that foundational knowledge. And that foundational knowledge that I talked about in hardware, software, operating systems, networking, and security, that foundational knowledge can be acquired in a certification or a preparation course for a certification called ITF Plus or IT Foundations Plus that is offered by CompTIA. Now, do I recommend you get this certification? Probably not. It doesn't prove anything, but if you take the preparation course, will give you that foundational knowledge. The next certification for that will be A+, which is a certification that I will recommend, and we're going to talk exactly in the next slides about that, for anybody that is trying to get into the IT field. That is considered still the entry-level certification, okay? But yeah, so yes, absolutely, absolutely. If you're interested in switching careers, I'd switch career. I was working in retail. And the way that it worked out for me is I needed to switch careers for a lot of different reasons. One of them was like because at the time my first daughter was a baby, and I didn't get to see much of her because I was working a lot of hours in retail. I couldn't see a lot of her, so I need to do something else. So I was like, okay, what can I do now? Start a new career. And I was like, okay, I kind of like this computer stuff. Seems like I can build computers. I can do this type of thing. Maybe I can be good at this. And this is how I started. So, and it's been great. Honestly, to me, it's been really good. It has allowed me to learn a lot and to switch different jobs and to provide for myself and my family. So it's been a good trip for me. Again, your mileage may vary, but I do recommend. This is why you're here. If you're here, it's because you're interested in a career in this field. So yes, absolutely. Start by gathering that foundational knowledge and go from there. Absolutely. Yes,
Uh,
definitely. Yeah, we're good in time.
All right. We have the one question. I think you mentioned the Montgomery College course. What name is the course? Is what they're asking?
Okay, so yeah, we're going to show a slide in a second. And again, um, if you didn't attend last week, what I mentioned is like there's a couple of different ways that you can acquire knowledge. Okay, or how can you prepare for certifications? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But my recommendation, and it's not because I work for a community college, but community colleges usually give you the best of both worlds for a couple of different reasons. First of all, they are more accessible. They are in your community, okay? So you don't have to travel 3 hours to get there. Uh, Second, all community colleges have two areas, the credit side and the non-credit side. We operate on the non-credit side, and a lot of these preparation courses for the certifications fall into that, what is called workforce development, continuing education, whatever you want to call it. The reason I recommend community colleges is because, and we have a program. The slide that we're going to show is for our sister program. It's called ITI, or Information Technology Institute, and they offer a couple of different preparation courses for certifications, for foundational knowledge, and for specific things. So the reason being is that they are more affordable, usually run in the hundreds of dollars, and they're a little bit more spread out. They usually, are 8 to 12 weeks. So you get, especially if you're new to this, it's good that you get to digest and you get to explore the content a little bit more. There are boot camps, and then again, those are good for people that kind of know what they already have a good knowledge. But these things, they can be like really intense and they cram a lot of knowledge. I don't recommend these courses for people who's beginning, just because, again, they're super intense, they're super costly, and a lot of things are probably just going to go over your head. So again, that's why I recommend community colleges, but there's also institutes. You have to look at your particular situation. But yeah, there's going to be a slide about that. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about preparation. Go ahead.
Uh, oh, uh, in response, they did say, I didn't attend last week. Is that recording available?
Sorry, it is. When I send the email for this particular one, you're going to get a link to this recording. All the recordings for this session and previous sessions and all other stuff that we offer here at the Hub is in our YouTube channel. Actually, you can probably, without me even sending you that link, if you go to YouTube and you search for Ignite Hub, you will find our channel, and that's where the recording for last week will be. I actually uploaded it yesterday. And if when I sent you the email, if you would like a copy of last week's presentation, I'll be more than happy to send it to you. Just reply to my email and request that, and I'll send it to you, in addition to this week's presentation.
I have zero IT experience, but I am in school minoring in information technology. I may begin volunteering for a small IT business refurbishing computers and/or wiping hard drives. Does this count for cybersecurity positions? Thank you.
It definitely counts as experience. And I commend you for doing that. When I was talking about trying to get your education and your experience at the same time, what you're doing is great. Volunteer work, internships, either be paid or unpaid, work that you actually, or create your own portfolio, things that you do on your own, but you can document and then you can show. Absolutely. All of these can be counted as experience. For cybersecurity specifically, maybe not, but definitely experience when you're trying to get a job, like let's say in support. Absolutely, this will cause experience because you are doing some of the functions that they expect you to do. And yes, so yeah, absolutely. Maybe not for cyber, because when cyber, they're really, again, the type of experience they're looking for cybersecurity is that they're trying to see that you have applied security concepts to particular scenarios, i.e., somebody mentioned, like, for example, updating antivirus, installing antivirus, that could be counted as experience for cyber, believe it or not. But anything that you have done to secure a system, either physically or with the use some type of security control, yes, that can count as experience. Absolutely.
I'm currently taking a Coursera Google IT support certificate. Will this help my cause if I want to join either the IT field or cybersecurity field?
Absolutely. Some of these courses are, again, we are going to talk in a minute about some certifications, but anything that can prove your knowledge, anything, you have attended a boot camp, you have attended a seminar, anything that can prove that you have acquired knowledge. But then again, you have to be careful with what these things prove. Of course, those Coursera things are, some of them are really good, and some of these Google certifications are starting to get some kind of weight in the industry. We're going to talk about some certifications that are recognized universally, but these Google certifications are starting to be accepted. So yes, absolutely. But what a certification or a degree proves, these only prove that you have knowledge. Okay. So yeah, anything that proves knowledge is absolutely, it works in your favor. Definitely put it in your resume, is going to help you. But it has to go together with some kind of experience that proves that you have applied that knowledge in some way, shape, or form. Hope that answered the question.
All right. We have someone asking about preescolas, school for IT. If you would recommend that.
I am not very familiar with them. Again, my criteria on all these schools, I don't want to say that none of these, I don't want to throw nothing under the bus because everything has a place and a specific for some users. So it may not be the question that you should be asking is this the best thing for me? And with that, you have to look at you have to look at the return on investment, okay? So not only look at the price, look at the content of what you are getting. And most importantly, after you're done with whatever course, whatever degree, whatever certification that you choose, you need to always ask yourself, what is at the other side of this? What is that going to help me achieve? If you think that by just getting one thing is going to automatically get you a job, no, it's a part. When you're trying to build your resume, you're trying to build your professional dossier, you want to have a little bit of everything, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of experience, and some things that you can prove and to talk about. So the main thing will be, is this school the right fit for me? Is this, what I'm paying, am I going to get my return on investment back? Okay. Again, when I was talking about boot camps, I'm not trying to dog boot camps. I have done boot camps and they are very expensive, but then again, they are specific for specific situations. They make sense. For other ones, they do not make sense. So you need to ask yourself, will I be better served by taking a free course or a lower cost course in Coursera? I will investigate other options. I will investigate what it will cost for me to go to my community college, what it will cost for me to take a course in Coursera versus this school. I think I've heard about them. I am not very familiar with them. But again, if it's, if the price makes sense to you, doesn't have to make sense to me. If the price makes sense to you, and what is at the end of this, what is I'm going to get with this class? And what is my objective? First of all, is like, what am I trying to get out of this class? Am I trying to just get knowledge? Am I trying to get some kind of certificate, some kind of paper saying that I completed this? So what is that I'm trying to get? If you're trying to get some kind of certification, then you need to see what the value in the industry for that is. And that's what we're going to talk about in a minute when we talk about certifications.
Can I apply with you to intern for you at Montgomery College as an IT assistant or help desk?
So, unfortunately, to the best of my knowledge, here at the college, we do not offer intern positions. We have offer student assistant positions, but you have to be a Montgomery College student, and they're kind of limited. This is something that we can do better, and a lot of companies need to do better with that. But yeah, usually Internships here at Montgomery College for IT, not much, to be honest with you. But keep on looking for internships. I know that that is hard. The one thing that here at the college we have, or for students, one of the services that we have is that we have a whole group of people that is trying to help you find internships. And let me tell you, getting an internship is as hard, sometimes harder to get a job, but let me tell you that they're really, really worth it because they really build that resume, they really build that experience, they really build that exposure. So they are worth it, even if they are unpaid in some cases. But again, you need to see if it's something that makes sense. Whenever you're trying to add something to your resume, the first question should be how this fits into the overall picture that I'm trying to paint about myself. Okay? You're trying, when you're presenting yourself to employers, you're trying to paint a picture. This is who I am. This is what I'm bringing to the table. With that, I've seen resumes of people that have like 5 different certifications, and that sometimes can look two ways. Okay, either look, oh, they're either really eager, or B, they're all over the place and they don't know what they're doing. So depending on the employer, that could look bad actually, you know? So you need to paint a picture, and it needs to be a cohesive picture. And as you progress in your career, those pieces need to be changing, okay? So you no longer, if you've been in the IT field, I had a certification that I no longer even put in my resume. I let it expire and it no longer makes sense to me at this stage of my career. It made sense at that stage, but now I don't even bring it up because doesn't do anything for me right now. So what I'm trying to tell is like whenever you embark onto something, you need to figure out what is this doing? How is this helping paint a picture of what I'm trying to do or say? That makes sense? Excellent. So let's go to the next slide and let's start covering certifications because this is important and interesting. Okay, degrees versus certifications. Next slide, please. Yeah, we talked about these already, and we went into in depth a little bit last week. But basically, what we've been saying is that IT, you don't need a degree to get into IT, but a degree will definitely help you go into the higher levels, especially into management. Certification will, some certification and some experience will get you your foot in, but then you will need to continue growing, getting either more certifications or a degree or more knowledge or more experience in order to advance. Now, what does that degree prove to an employer? A degree basically proves that you have a breadth of knowledge, okay? Basically meaning that is wide, that you are being prepared to be a professional. That's why when you are in an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, you have to take some courses like you have to take English, you have to take math, you have to take social sciences, you have to take electives. Why? Because what they want is for a professional, somebody that can work in a professional environment, and of course your core classes are going to be whatever your major is. So a degree proves that you have well-rounded knowledge, okay? Doesn't prove experience. Again, certifications, they prove that you have the foundational knowledge, and then they are specific. Sometimes they're very narrow. Some certifications are very specific about what skill it points. Again, they only prove knowledge, okay? So next slide, please. So now we're gonna talk about industry certifications. And next slide. Okay, as you can see on this slide, IT certifications are often listed as either required or preferred on job postings. Okay, some job postings actually ask for a degree, certification or certifications, and then experience. I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I get all that? All right, now let's talk a little bit about how do you get a certification, okay? So certifications require preparation or training, and we talked a little bit about that. Okay, so let's go back into that. So you can prepare for a certification a couple of different ways. A certification is basically you need to take an exam, all right? If you feel like right now that you have enough knowledge to take that exam, go and take the exam. And if you pass it, guess what? You're certified. Now, most people don't have that kind of attitude. So you can either go by the books, either the official books or the unofficial books that are available in Amazon for most certifications or other places. And then you can try to learn yourself, okay? So that's one way, is one cheap way. The next thing will be what I was suggesting, that you take a preparation course. And these preparation courses can take 3 different flavors, in my opinion. Number one, you can go to your community college. Like I said, into the workforce development side, the non-credit, and then you sign for one of these classes. It's gonna run you into the hundreds of dollars. Um, and then it's going to be spread out 8, 12 weeks, whatever. And then after that, if you feel you're ready, by all means, go and take the exam, okay? The other part will be there's these IT institutes all over the place. Again, I don't want to talk bad about them, but usually they tend to be a little bit more expensive. They tend to overpromise. So if you are getting into this, be very careful when they offer you that glossy brochure. As of exactly, don't get sold just on that glossy brochure. Do a little bit of investigation. This may be the right path for a lot of you. I'm not saying that it's not, but they tend to be a little bit more expensive, and those courses seem to be a little bit more compressed. So sometimes they're a couple of weeks, 3, 4 weeks, and so. But again, that may work for you. The nuclear option are boot camps. Boot camps are the most expensive, and they are usually 4 days or 5 days, 40 hours is a week, and they just cram a lot of knowledge into you. I've done those. Why? First of all, because the college pay for them. Second, because I already had the knowledge, the general knowledge. What I needed was like a refresh, and that's why it's called a boot camp. They go through the stuff like boom, 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 boom. So you are ready to take the exam, okay? So those are kind of your options of how you prepare for these courses, all right? Now, what it takes. And this is where I was gonna talk about the CISSP certification a little bit. Most courses, when you are ready, when you are prepared, you are ready to take the exam, you need to schedule the exam, okay? And then you go and you take the exam. If you pass it, great, you're now certified. In a couple of weeks, you'll receive your certificate to the mail, et cetera, et cetera. If you fail, most of the time, you will have to wait at least 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks to retake it again. You will have to pay another fee. Sometimes it's not the full fee again, sometimes a discounted fee, but you have to pay again, most likely, to retake the exam. Don't feel bad if you don't pass the first time. A lot of people don't pass the first time for some certifications. Third, the other part that you need to understand that there are two types of certifications. So certifications fall into two general areas: vendor specific and vendor neutral. Okay. So vendor neutral is certifications that talk about the specific area. For example, and we're going to talk about the certification. Network Plus is a certification that is non-vendor specific, that it tries to give you foundational knowledge, or actually medium level knowledge in networks. So you have operational knowledge, rather, that's the word that I want to use. It will give you operational knowledge that so you understand how networks operate in a general sense, okay? Now, vendor specific those are your Google certifications, your AWS certifications, your Microsoft certifications, your Cisco certifications. So those are provided by the vendors, and what they say is like, you have been certified that you can use this tool, you know how to configure this equipment, etc., okay? So that's the one thing that I want to say. Then, after you pass that exam, for most certifications, there are no prerequisites, okay? Most entry-level certifications, you can just go ahead and take the exam. Some certifications, like CISSP, require that you prove that you need some requirements before you even take the exam. Before you even can schedule the exam, you need to understand that you need to have, to obtain the CISSP, you need to have 5 years of full-time experience, or the equivalent of full-time experience in at least 3 of the 9 domains of the CISSP. In their world, they have 9 domains, or they had 9 domains when I took the exam. You need to have 5 years on at least 3 of those domains. So you need to prove it, that you have that. Second, you need to have somebody that already has a CISSP to sponsor you, okay? Most certifications are not like that. You can just go and take the exam and boom, now you're certified, okay? Some certifications require that you have a lower certification before you get to that one. But then again, most entry-level ones do not require that. So now you're certified. What do you need to do? Now you need to pay a yearly fee to maintain these certifications. Most certifications are only good for 3 years. After 3 years, you have 2 choices. Either A, you retake the exam, you have to pay again and take the new exam, or B, during these 3 years, you have acquired what they're called CEUs, or basically educational credits. You can take a class, you can attend webinars, you can, but you need to document all these. You can attend conferences, you can teach a class. All these will count towards the CEUs, different type of CEUs, different number of CEUs, depending on your certification. So that's how you can maintain it, okay? So that's about certifications. Again, some people, there's what is called certification stacking, basically what I talked about. Some people have 5, 6 certifications. You've probably seen them, you know, in their email tagline, they have CSSP, CEH, and CCNA, and this is that. So, okay, sometimes it makes sense. For the most part, certification stacking does not make sense. I'm going to give you an example in a minute of where those stacking certifications make sense. But for the most part, they don't. To my point, right now I have the CISSP certification. I used to have the Security Plus. I let it expire because the CISSP is a certification that is considered a higher level. So for me, maintaining both doesn't make sense, if that makes sense to you, okay? So with that said, let's go to the next slide because I want to cover some more stuff before we leave. What is CompTIA and why is important for this particular session? So again, I'm not affiliated with CompTIA. I had one of their certifications. The reason is because they are considered, the next certifications that we're going to be talking about are considered entry-level certifications for support, networking, and cyber. Okay, these are considered and they are recognized in the industry as entry-level certifications. They do have some weight, and and third, they are all vendor neutral. Okay, so that's what CompTIA is, who they are. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So usually they talk about that triad. Okay, and the general order is A plus, and then you take Network Plus and then Security Plus. So you don't have to, you can jump directly into Security Plus. That's what I did. I never had A plus or Network Plus. But if you don't have that knowledge, it's good. This is the recommended path. What is A plus? A plus is the certification that proves that you have foundational knowledge in hardware, operating systems, a little bit of networking, okay? So that's what it proves. It's actually 2 exams that you need to take, or it used to be 2 exams, okay? So that is considered universally the entry-level certification for IT. So if you have an A plus and some kind of experience like our friend online was describing, you can start honestly applying for jobs as you know, a help desk specialist, honestly, or a support specialist. So Network Plus, as the name suggests, it's about network. It's about how computer networks work, protocols, ports, all that good stuff, network addressing. And then Security Plus is how to secure everything that Network Plus and A Plus have covered, if that makes sense. That's why that's the order that they suggest. Again, I used to have Security Plus. I went straight to that one. As you can see, you can skip them, but those are the certifications. So if we go to the next slide, it's going to start making a little bit more sense. So the certification that we're going to talk about, again, this is a certification that is considered universally as the entry-level certification for IT support, and that's the CompTIA A+. And it covers PC repair and troubleshooting, issues ranging in networking and operating systems, mobile devices, and security. Again, foundational knowledge. Okay, but if there's one even before the one that I was talking about, the ITF Plus, that is even more foundational than this one, okay? Next slide. So again, networking. Now, this is where I'm gonna talk about that certification stacks when it makes sense. So as you can see, there's a couple here that are listed, and it's the CompTIA A+, which is the predecessor, the Network Plus, and the CompTIA Security Plus. So that's kind of in the middle. So the Network Plus is always considered the entry-level certification for networking in the industry. Okay, so what Network Plus, again, proves is that you have knowledge about computer networks generally, how they operate, how to troubleshoot them, et cetera, et cetera. Now, CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Associate, That's a certification that is actually makes sense to have together with Network Plus, because what CCNA proves is that you know how to do networking according to Cisco. Why is that one important and why that one is popular? Cisco is has the biggest slice of the pie when it comes to network equipment. If you throw a stone, 7 out of 10 companies probably are on Cisco equipment. So it's a very desirable certification if you are trying to get into the networking field. Why? Network Plus will give you the knowledge about networks in general. CCNA will give you the knowledge on how to configure, deploy, patch, troubleshoot Cisco devices, okay? And that will be switches, routers, et cetera, et cetera. So these two certifications together with some experience, that will be a good entry level to be a network engineer. And then now we're going to talk about cybersecurity, and then there's a bunch here. Okay, again, because as you saw when we were talking about cybersecurity, they're like different fields. But again, Security Plus is considered the entry level certification for cybersecurity, and that, along with some experience, you can start looking for jobs like a network, a NOC associate, something like that. But then you have the CEH, the Certified Ethical Hacker, that is actually, yeah, I would say it is in the same level as Security Plus. That one, what that one proves, it again is vendor neutral. It's just that it proves that you have the knowledge of certain tools that are used for defending networks. And again, that's why it's called a certified ethical hacker, because the same tools that are used for attacking are the same tools that are used for defending. Now we have the advanced or expert. So again, CompTIA offers a couple of different ones, like the CISA Plus, the pen test for pen testers. By the way, the people who issues the CH also offers a pen tester certification, the CASP, Advanced Security Practitioner, and the one that we've been talking about, the CISSP. The CISSP is considered kind of like, but there are other ones. After CISSP, you can get into more other certifications that are adjacent to CISSP, but that's kind of like the foundation considered the gold standard, for lack of better terms, in cybersecurity. Again, because it proves, in order to have it, you need to prove that you have had at least 5 years of experience in at least 3 of the 9 domains. Next. Okay, we're going to talk about this and you're going to go like, what is this? Okay, and why is this important? So the DoD 8570, what is that? So DoD 8570 stands for Department of Defense Directive 8570. You can see in 2005, the U.S. Department of Defense set out to assess and manage cybersecurity force. The result of this effort was DoD Directive 8570. Basically, during the Obama administration, this cybersecurity stuff started to come in more and more, and they were like, wait a second, we need to, how are we doing with this? How are we assuring that we are being compliant and secure in all government systems? So 8570 is basically a big document that is saying, if you are going to touch any computer in the US government as a contractor, as a direct hire, you need to have certain certifications. And depending on the level of what you do, these are the certifications that we have accepted. Why do I bring this up? Next slide, please. This slide, there's more on it, but the reason that I bring this up is because if you are thinking about getting a certification in IT, and there are hundreds, literally, I had one slide that has like all the IT certifications, and there are like hundreds of certifications in IT. If you don't know which certification to get, or you're like, which one should I get? If it's here, and this is not the whole slide, if it's here, chances are that they are accepted in industry. Why is that? Because if the government has accepted them, industry has accepted them. All right. And as you can see, some of them are in different categories. And, if you try to read this graphic, is because it's depending on the level and depending on the function. So what certifications will be accepted for those particular positions? And this will be required. Okay. So that's why this DoD 8570 kind of comes to mind. Let's go to the next slide and let's talk a little bit about, so again, certifications. What certifications are you most interested in and why? And then let's go, because I want to cover before we depart some, as promised, some additional resources. So next slide, please. So again, this is, I'm not trying to sell anybody, but this is kind of more informational. All community colleges in the area will have something similar to this. But if you click on the next slide, this is what some of the courses that are offered here at Montgomery College under the workforce development or the non-credit classes. And as you can see, some of them are foundational. Some of them will prepare you for specific certifications. So for the person that was um, asking about that, there's actually a QR code, and then this is actually available on our website as well. But as you can see, these are specific courses that we offer. We don't offer them all the time, but every semester we offer most of them, and especially like the networking, the data analytics now, the cyber are. So that's that. That's one of the resources. Next slide, please. And another resource is us. You are here because somehow you have discovered us, and as you know, all the programming that we offer here is free. Most of the stuff that we offer here is hybrid. We are here to try to help people that it's trying to get a career in IT or switching a career in IT or anything related with technology. So do check all our other offerings that we have. We also have guest speaker series. We are going to have, in addition to this, we're going to have boot camps, and they are again free. We're going to have coding boot camp for adults, so that is starting next month, and then in April, no, actually it's starting this month. My apologies for the coding boot camp, and in April we are having the app design boot camp. So we do have a lot of resources, especially one resource that I think that I want you to be aware of is that this is some of the services that we offer, but the career coaching and the career workshops, okay? And I believe that is in the next slide. So that is something that we offer here for free, okay? We, in addition to, so we have partnered with career catchers. We have contracted their services. So we offer monthly career workshops. Also, they are offered in a hybrid format, in person at the East County Education Center, but you can also join them online. And they range in topics such as resume writing. Actually, this week, 2 days ago, we had the resume writing workshop, transferable skills, the ones that we were talking about, and how to look for a job, etc. That kind of stuff. So that's the one piece. But the other piece that is more important, especially for this group, if you are interested in switching to a career in IT or getting to a career in IT, you can get free career coaching, okay? The only requirement actually is that you are a resident of Montgomery County and then you're looking for a career in IT, you can get free career coaching. Again, this is how you can do that to schedule an appointment. This presentation will be sent to you. And that is specifically useful to this particular group. Let me see what is the next slide. And again, this I would like to close because we're coming to an end and I still want to ask something out of you. Two things. The first one is right here. I want you to think about what was covered in this presentation, what stood out for you the most, okay? So just reflection. But this is what I want everybody to kind of make a commitment with yourself. What actions will you take after attending this presentation? And that doesn't have to be a big thing. The action could be, I'm going to investigate more about this CISSP certification, or I want to know more about this network course. I'm going to check out the catalog for those ATI courses. I'm going to contact the career catchers guy, you know. So, but what is your next step? Doesn't have to be big, but what is that you're going to take as the next step? And last but not least, if you go to the next slide, that's my information. You are welcome to contact me and you will receive this. But next slide, I'm going to ask everybody here, and if you can please post the link on the chat, for everybody to take a minute or the minute that we have left in this presentation to complete this survey. It's only a couple of questions, and it really helps us. It helps me, and it helps us as far as like how can we provide better services for all of you. And if this was useful, please be honest. I will not get offended if you didn't like it, but we need to know if this is being useful to all of you. And with that, I would like to thank every one of you for being here tonight. Honestly, you could have been anywhere. It was a very beautiful day, but you chose to be here to spend these 2 hours with us, and I really appreciate it. And I hope that this was useful to all of you in some way, shape, or form, that some of the expectations that you came to into this workshop were met. And if not, hopefully some of the other resources that I share with you will be helpful in this endeavor. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, and expect that email. It will be coming soon. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you on part 3 next Wednesday, either in person or online. We're going to be talking about careers in data, cloud, and web/app development. Super interesting as well. Again, if you want a copy of the presentation from week 1, do reply to the email that you will receive in a couple of days from me, and I will be more than happy to send you that, okay? And check out other videos and other offerings. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Be safe. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for next week's.
Oh, yeah, yeah.